All right. It says I'm live tonight. Check in. I'm trying something new. I hope that the Facebook stream is working. I don't know if it is or not. Um, if you're on Facebook and can see this, it must be working. If you're on Facebook and can't see this, it's not working. So, um, check in. Let me know where you guys are hanging out with us tonight, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. I see I'm live on the TV in the shop here, so I can turn that back off now. I do see Facebook comments. Okay. But I don't have any names or anything. It just says Facebook user. So, but judging by the comment, I know who it came from. As you guys can see, Wesley is not here tonight. Wesley had a little bit of a surgical procedure on Friday, and he's joining us in the chat. Just like me last week, his voice is just not cooperating with him. So he had a little bit of anesthesia, and his voice just isn't working. God dang it, Josh, you got to quit doing that. I'm trying to keep this monetized. I made 51 cents last week on YouTube, thanks to it actually being monetized. What's going on, everybody? So, yes, I can see that Facebook is working, but I don't have any names, so I apologize for that. But I can tell, like I said, exactly who this individual on Facebook is. But, yeah, I hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'm probably only going to be on here about an hour tonight, being on here by myself and all that stuff. It's a little harder to keep conversations rolling. You know what? Just because I can't see who is commenting on Facebook, I'm going to pull Facebook up on my phone so I can watch the comments there. Ah, yes, now I can see them. And Tim Thompson, you might get fired. Oh, man. Anyway, it's a little more difficult to keep the conversation going when you're, by yourself here. So you guys got to keep me going in the comments tonight. As far as inventory update goes, we normally update you guys on inventory every Monday, and today's no different. Even though Wesley is a little under the weather, he is still rocking out some inventory stuff. There are leaf spring mounts on the site now. There are let me just check real quick what all I did for him, or what all I added for him. Spring over and spring under, leaf spring mounts, pan hard mounts, full party, all the mullet chassis, a couple high lows, some C1 Pros, some C1 leafers, some angled sliders, some flat sliders, and some accessory mounts are all on the site now. And then there are, I think, everything in carbon except the front accessory tray for the high-low is all in stock. Welcome, everybody. Comments are scrolling through here pretty quick, so trying to keep up. What makes the Hardline stand out versus the other VRD chassis? The main thing that makes the Hardline chassis stand out, and I apologize, I don't have a Hardline in front of me here. I can get up out of my chair and go get one, but basically the most important thing that I did on the Hardline was I raised the belly about 7 millimeters. What that allows you to do is, number one, if you build the truck the exact same way as you had it stock, that raises the belly up and it gives you a bunch more breakover angle. The side effect of that is that, yes, it does raise the center of gravity of the truck just a little bit. Or what you can do is, with that raised belly, you can lower the entire truck down to the same belly height, but you've lowered everything else down 7 millimeters. So you can lower your center of gravity of the chassis. Now, we did not change the breakover angle, or we did not change the skid angle from factory. Vanquish has it at 6 degrees. I left it at 6 degrees. There is another chassis on the market that is at 12 degrees. But if you overlay that 12-degree chassis to a stock one and look at the difference in the back of the skid area, and then you overlay a hardline chassis to the stock chassis, you'll see there's a bunch more breakover clearance on the hardline versus that chassis. They do have that other chassis does have more shock mounting locations in their shock hoop, but they're all forward of what ours are or rearward on the front of the chassis. So you're angling the shocks more, which reduces your spring rate, basically. Effectively makes the shocks softer, right? I thought that the angle of the rear shock was too far for my preference stock, so I moved the shock hoop backwards so you can stand the shock up more if you want to. Or you can mount the shock in a factory-ish location. Theron says, I dare you to get up. Theron counts every single time I get up. So the raising the belly area is one of the changes I made. Moving the shock hoop rearward on the chassis is another change I made. Like I said, the rear shock is angled pretty far from the factory, and that softens the spring rate, and effectively it speeds the shock up too because of the weight ratio on it. So standing the shock up more is going to give you a stiffer spring feel, and that's what I thought the truck needed. A lot of people are switching to like a 60 to 80 weight oil in the shock to slow the shock down also. I don't have a problem with the speed of the shock. I just had a problem with the spring pressure. I didn't feel like it put enough pressure on the rear of the truck for me. So that's why I moved the rear shock hoop back about 14 millimeters actually, which is quite a bit. But there is still provisions in that shock hoop to where you can mount the shock in a damn near exactly the same location as what the manual says to build it. I also, on the hard line and the flat line, extended the rear of the chassis about 6 millimeters. Because the rear bumper that they provide is very long. Not all the aftermarket bumpers are that long. So if you don't extend the back of the chassis and you put a short bumper on it, it tucks it back in behind the body. So I extended the back of the chassis just a little bit to make it so that shorter bumpers, like the TGH modular bumper, the tabs on the TGH bumper are only so long, and they're slotted, so you can move the bumper back and forth. But with that bumper extended all the way out, it was still shorter than the factory VRD bumper. So, one of the very first things I usually change on my trucks is the bumpers. So I wanted to be able to do that without having the bumper tucked way up in underneath the body, and without having like 2-inch long tabs on the bumper to keep it pulled in there. Nice backdrop. Thank you, Greg. It's the my crawler course area, which Greg did a lot of work on. This all came from Crawler Canyon RC Park in Illinois. Not to be confused with Crawler Canyon on YouTube. It's not the same people, by the way. Paul, do you guys have any interest in making a sporty style chassis? The problem is for me, Paul, to be able to produce a sporty style chassis would require a lot of travel for me because I don't have sporty terrain around here. So it would take a lot of planning on my end, or building multiple trucks at a time to be able to take out and test against each other at the same time, basically. I I'd love to, but again, I just don't have the means or the terrain around here to really get that far into it. And then the other thing is like the good Sporty chassis that are on the market have been on the market for 10 plus years. These chassis are those guys' forte, right? So there's a pretty steep learning curve in that. It'd be like me trying to jump in and making a no prep drag chassis or something like that. There's just, to be able to make a good one right off the bat, it'd be real hard, and I just can't, unfortunately. We're in Indiana. We have no terrain. We have like mud. It'd be much easier for me to make a mud truck than a Sporty that actually worked. It's 40 degrees here today. It's actually 40 degrees here right now. It's 8:11 p.m. here, and it's 40 degrees outside, which is super strange for northern Indiana this time of year. But what that did was turn everything that was frozen into mud. So I have probably a 3-acre pond out back now that used to be parking lot. And behind my shop, I think it's about 6 acres behind my shop, and a lot of it's used for trailer storage. The U-Haul next door to me uses it to store a bunch of U-Haul trailers, and there's a couple of semi drivers that park their semis back there. But it's a pond right now because of all the snow that melted. We got a lot of mud in Cali now. Yeah, you guys had a bunch of rain out there. How's it going, Josh? Thank you. I bought this flannel to try to win a track hawk, and it did not work. Matt says slimy clay. That's pretty much what it is. It's slimy. Well, I don't even have clay up here, Matt. You're about 2.5, 3 hours south of me, so we get sand and just like slimy, gross dirt. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just nasty. Josh, Harley, while you're still here, how do I make the Facebook comments on StreamYard show their names? It just says Facebook user. So like Tim Thompson says, lots of rain, but it just says Facebook user. I don't know how to change that. I wish I did. Man, Facebook seems to be more common tonight. Actually, this is the first time I've tried to go on Facebook. The Facebook comments are rolling through faster than the YouTube ones are anyway. Tom says the only redeemable part of New Jersey is we have mountains in the northwest part. I don't even have that. Like, the state of Indiana doesn't have anything that even resembles a mountain. Like, we have hills in the south, but that's about it. There's just not. All of our off-road parks are old quarries, rock quarries and stuff like that. And I don't even know how they found rock to excavate into a quarry, if I'm honest. If they aren't cool enough to view via YouTube, they don't deserve to have their name shown. Besides, it's just Hibby. If it was just Hibby, I wouldn't be upset about it. But unfortunately, it's there's quite a few. I'm in Kansas. I know the feeling. We purposely avoided Kansas on our way out to King of the Hammers just because we didn't want to drive through Kansas. Oh, man. I'm so glad that we only drive that once a year. Like, ugh. I went to lunch today with Sean, who races King of the Hammers, and we were talking about the drive out there and the drive back. Like, it's 40 hours each way. The fuel bill, just the fuel to drive the toter there and back, not including the race gas for the race cars, not including pump gas for the pre-runners, not including pump gas for the dirt bikes or anything else. Just diesel fuel in the toter was $5,300 to drive to Hammers and back. Doesn't include any race fees, doesn't include anything else. Just stopping at truck stops to put fuel in the truck was almost $5,300, like 52 something, rounded up to $5,300. Pretty insane. And then Nationals, Ultra 4 Nationals last year was Lake Havasu. So, like, that Havasu's only 5 hours-ish, I guess. 5-6 hours from Hammers, if I had to just guess off the top of my head. Plus the wheel replacement. Yeah. Plus about $650 for a wheel and tire. And wheel hub assembly with bearings and the brake assembly, and yeah, it was. It's an expensive 2 weeks, like real expensive 2 weeks. Thankfully, it only happens once. But Ultra 4 did release an actual Ultra 4 actual Ultra 4 schedule now. Student have a recycling fee for the old tire. I picture that tire just eliminating itself from the trailer, bouncing out into a field, and just killing a cow. It's like, we never saw it. Like, had absolutely no clue that it was not on the trailer anymore. Never saw it come off, never heard it, never felt it. No idea. It just exited the trailer. It didn't bend the fender on the trailer. It didn't hit the side of the trailer. It just was gone. It had to bounce into some farmer's field somewhere and probably take out a cow or a goat or something like that. Not the livestock. Yeah. I mean, what else could it be? Oh, man. Keep heading this way, and an East Coast car and a West Coast car might be cheaper. That's not entirely out of the question, really. Anyway, Ultra 4 did actually announce a real schedule now, so at least we know where we're racing. Because a few weeks ago, well, up until about 3 or 4 days ago, it was a question whether we were even actually still racing East Coast instead of just King of the Hammers. So Pete is sending you a bill. Yeah. I don't know. They'd have to figure out how to get it to us. So yeah. Anyway, that trailer tire just disappeared. When you're towing when you're driving a 43-foot long toter home, which is a semi, it's a Freightliner semi, Renegade conversion, pulling a 32-foot trailer, tri-axle trailer. You don't know when a tire goes flat. You don't know when a tire leaves the trailer. It just happens. Like, there was a solid 3 to 4 hour window that it could have happened. I think we stopped at a truck stop roughly 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe just a little earlier than 6 o'clock in the morning. Got out, went up into the rest area, used the restroom, got back in the truck and kept on going. We walked around the truck when we were at the rest area, and everything was fine then. And then after we got through Albuquerque, probably half an hour beyond Albuquerque, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, 9:45 to 10 o'clock in the morning, got out to switch drivers, and I walked around the trailer. I'm like, oh, hey, we're missing something. We got a problem. The trailer tire exited the chat, like the whole thing. Wheel, tire, hub, brake drum, all of it, just gone. Super cool. Put the hammer down, son, right? Some poor farmer trying to explain the UFO that killed his cow. Yep. Had one disappear on a 20-foot open deck with a Jeep on it doing 80 through Virginia. Had no clue if it wasn't for a person getting my attention to let me know. Yeah, so it was on the passenger side of the truck, too. So, like, you know, when you're driving a vehicle like that, you're in the right lane most of the time, right? And that was on the right side of the truck. So nobody flagged us down. Nobody, not that we noticed anyway. Yeah, nobody waved, nothing. If we only would have been, you know, an hour or so from Hammers, we probably would have just continued driving, but we still had 10 hours to go. So it was one of those things where it wasn't going to make it to Hammers another 10 hours and then make a 40-hour trip home like that. So the old halfway past Albuquerque routine. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that it's, you know, when you drive 40 hours across the country, there's bound to be something that happens. So anyway, I'm going to scroll here and see. I know I've missed a couple of comments here. Saw one here. Do we do anything for the SCX 24? The answer is no-ish. Not currently. I have been working on the SCX 24. It is drivable. It is complete. The problem is that just like this Frontline chassis, the required parts list is massive, right? So I took an SCX 24 Gladiator and basically threw it away to build this truck. I mean, realistically, the body, the rear body hinge, and the skid plate is basically what's left. Oh, okay. Thank you, Josh. I will do that next time. You need me on video next Monday. Be prepared. I don't know about that. Anyway, so basically, I took the entire SCX 24 and threw it away. The chassis requires, you know, custom links front and rear, custom drive shafts front and rear. I built it with custom axles and custom shocks because you're never going to comp a truck like this with stock axles and stock shocks. But basically, it is a 2023 high-low. Is the file I started off of and scaled it down to what you see here. I did cut the front of it off because, you know, it didn't need to be that long. But then I made custom links. I bought 2mm stainless to build custom links, and they go right along the bottom of the body, off the front of this or off the back of the skid, and they go right up, they're bent right up to the bottom of the drive shaft, so they all three would touch at the same time. But I mean, for, you know, this right here is where the rear links start. Is right behind, you know, right in the middle of the front door is where the rear links start. But these axles have, you know, pretty reasonable amounts of steering. And then I put a 68mm tire on it. Cut the fenders out a little bit, but officially, no, I don't have anything for an SCX 24, but I have been working on it. I have been working with it. Until Vanquish releases a tire for the SCX 24, I'm not going to release this. Josh. Josh Hibner says, I'll bring beer. Yeah. Full party mullet, 24 or nothing. I do have the Proline Ambush 24th scale truck right over there on the counter that has leaf springs. I could. Theron, if I roll my rolly chair over there, does it count? I can go get it. I'm going to go grab it. This little guy, this cute little fella, has leaf springs. I could do a full party mullet for this guy. Unfortunately, I believe it has a transmission gear that is stripped because it makes an awful lot of noise and sometimes stops driving. It doesn't have a whole lot of suspension travel, but that's to be expected with leaf springs. And it's drastically smaller than the SCX-24. But it looks really cool. Early Bronco style. Looks really cool. So it's like a stock FMS, yeah, basically. Josh heard Leafs and left the chat. Probably. Speaking of leaving the chat, Facebook, the Facebook feed has been going for 27 minutes now. So if you are watching on Facebook, jump over to YouTube to continue watching. I'm going to be ending the Facebook stream here in about a minute or two. Give you guys a couple of minutes to get over to the YouTube side. Facebook doesn't like more than 30-minute streams. So that's a Scout body. Whatever. Same thing. Scout, Bronco. It is a Scout because it doesn't, yeah. If it was a Bronco, it'd have the fins on the fenders. Whatever. Same thing. It's old, okay? And it has leaf springs. Look at the drivetrain slop in this thing. Like, it's really bad. This whole truck was really bad. It looks good, but the whole truck was just awful. I don't even know where the radio is for it. It's here somewhere. But the other vehicle, I'm going to go ahead and end the Facebook stream. So if you're on Facebook, sorry. How do I end that? Continue. Let's see. I don't know how to end that. So, never mind. We're going to keep going. Because that button doesn't do anything. I thought that was supposed to turn that off. Anyway, don't care. Top right corner, remove source, save. Top right corner, remove. It just says remove destination from the stream. It doesn't say to stop it. It looks like it wants to. Oh, okay, there we go. Save. Okay. Never mind. Got it figured out. So we should be on YouTube only now. The other vehicle that I used to really think was cool that actually sucks terribly is this guy. The Venom motorcycle. Chain drive. You know, actual working front forks. Again, looks super cool. Was terrible to drive. Wow. Thanks, Tom. Quadrupling your YouTube income tonight with Super Shafty having new modified SCX6 class. Any chances of seeing a scaled up high-low or ATL Pro? Much appreciated for your donation. Thank you very much. So I didn't really have a whole lot of want or need, and I still don't, for an SCX6 chassis. However, a buddy of mine, a very good buddy of mine, local buddy of mine, just spent a lot of money purchasing a CNC laser and a CNC press brake. Now, a lot of our stuff is made locally, sourced locally for laser stuff. Some of it is also in the United States, but elsewhere. But since Tom bought this laser, I think I might explore a little bit. I'm not going to promise anything right now, but I will explore it a little bit more, especially being able to just have him bring it to me at lunch, or his shop is 10 minutes from here. So being able to drive over to his shop and mess with some stuff, I might explore a little bit. And then another buddy of mine, Sean, wants me to build a tube chassis replica of his Ultra 4 car for his SCX6. So I'll already have stuff apart. I'll already be measuring stuff, so it probably won't be that difficult to do. However, I will not be doing carbon fiber or G10. Just putting that out there right now. My machine at the shop here is not set up to do that size of work. It would take a whole bunch of screwing around, rebuilding fixtures, redoing machine offsets and things like that. I'm just not going to. I have everything dialed in on that router, and the only thing that router does is cut chassis, and I don't want to mess with that setup. It's been the exact same setup for 8 years now, so I don't want to have to change all my programs. I don't want to have to, just not do it. But if I can have Tom laser cut something, it would have to be thicker than 1/8 inch, but if we're doing it out of aluminum. So I'm not promising anything, but it is something that I will consider screwing around with a little bit. For having Harley in his name, this dude sure sounds like a nerd. I'm thankful for that nerd being in the chat, because I would have never clicked the button that I just had to click. Hopefully I didn't delete the stream off Facebook. If I deleted it off Facebook, you'll still be able to watch it on YouTube anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. But it sure didn't seem like that's the way to do that. There's a big red button at the top right of the screen that says end stream. And there's a YouTube icon and a Facebook icon. It seems like you'd just be able to click on that Facebook icon and click end stream instead of ending both streams, but whatever. What else you guys want to talk about tonight? Wesley, I think, is still in the chat, so if you guys have any Wesley-specific questions, go ahead and ask those too, and hopefully his fingers work better to type than his voice works to talk. Last week was my voice was going away still. I was still fighting the King of the Hammers, hammer lung, dust-infested lungs. It was at the end of the stream there, my voice was pretty clapped. Tempted to try and find an SCX6 to run at spring shootout. Just feels like the only time I'd use it. I absolutely love my SCX6, but the only time I drive that truck is at Axial Fest Badlands. I have not touched that truck except to wash it since June of last year. And it took until probably September or October for me to wash it from June. I took it with me to Crawlapalooza in October, but my stupid self left my batteries here in the shop. I had the SCX6 batteries in an ammo can, and I grabbed my LiPo bag that had all my small 3S and 4S batteries, but I did not grab the ammo can that had my big, hard case batteries. So unfortunately, I hauled the SCX6 all the way to Oklahoma from Indiana and didn't bring my batteries. So got my tickets for the spring SCX6 stock class. So how many of you guys are going to Super Shafty for the spring crawl? No, we kind of touched on it last week a little bit about the pricing for that event. They do have a lot of classes that you could potentially run in, but that's an awful lot of money for the Ironman class. It's for those who don't know, the Ironman classes run as many classes as you want. So you pay one fee and you can run anything you want to run. And the price for that is $300. Some classes are like $60 a class. Some classes are like $40-something a class, if I remember right. But like it takes quite a few classes to add up to $300. So like, if you're not running 7+ classes, does it really, some of them are $59, $60. So if you're not running 5 classes, like that's an awful lot. That's an awful lot. I don't know if I could justify doing the Ironman thing. But I also don't run Sporty and Mini and, that type of stuff either. So, for me, it would just be Class 1, Class 2, maybe SCX6, maybe 24 scale. So, yeah. I'm building a Class 3 with a VFD Twin, ATL Pro, and Deluxe Portal front. My wife is doing the Diva class with her pace setter. Nice. Did you say it's a $300 entry? Yeah, let me just verify real quick. But Super Shafty Spring Shootout. Discussion, tickets. Ironman, any number of classes you want, $299. Class 1 and Class 2, $59 each. Class 3, $49. Diva, $29. SCX6 and all WRCCA classes, $39 each. Ultra 4 Racing, $19 each. Then Roush Creek Gate Park prices are $25 for one day or $45 for multiple days. Sunday is free. Spectators are free. So yes, it is. It's if you're going to do Ironman, which is again any number of classes you want. So you could run. You pay $300 and you run every single class if you had a truck for every single class. Yeah, it's not a cheap event to go to. So I was just curious how many people are. I wonder how many Ironman tickets they actually sold because, man, that's a hefty price tag. Spring Shootout, ECC, and Fall Crawl are the only 3 times a year I go to comp my WRCCA rigs. You can run them at Crawlapalooza in Oklahoma also, but usually it's about, it's either the same weekend or consecutive weekends between Maryland and Oklahoma, so it's a trip. The Ultra 4 Racing is an absolute blast, just a bash fest. So the U4 class, they did have U4 type racing at Crawlapalooza too, which was super cool because they actually race Ultra 4 there, so it makes sense. I got up. What event are we discussing? The Super Shafty Spring Shootout. Roush is normally $70 for your first entry every year. So Roush normally does a yearly entry fee. So they waived the yearly entry fee for the event, but they're still charging a gate fee of $25 per day or $45 for multiple days. So yes, they did waive a $70 fee, but they are still charging an entry fee. That's fairly common in the Ultra 4 world too. Now, any Woods type racing or XC type racing, Indiana IXCR right now is down at Badlands Off-Road Park, and we always still had to pay the Badlands gate entry fee, no matter what. For everybody in your vehicle that you drove into the park, you still had to pay. You still had to sign their waivers. You still had to pay their gate fee, and then you still had race fees on top of that. So, anytime you're going to a park, you pretty much always still have to pay their park fees. And then anytime there was a race held on private land, they had still had gate fees that all went to the property owner. Badlands and Roush are the same owner? I don't know about that. I was unaware that Kyle was any part owner in Roush. That's interesting. If that's fact, that's news to me because I did not know that. I'm dreading the 11-plus hour drive from Tennessee more than anything. So that's where Super Shafty Fall Crawl and Crawlapalooza always either fell on consecutive weekends or the same weekend. And each way is 11 to 12 hours for me. From right here to Super Shafty Fall Crawl is like 11 and a half hours. From right here to Crawlapalooza is like 11 hours and 5 minutes if you were able to drive straight through, which last time I drove by JK, I certainly did not drive straight through because I had to stop 6 times for gas because JKs are terrible. At any rate, it's kind of a toss-up on which way to go. I have never been to Super Shafty Fall Crawl purely because I've been to Crawlapalooza and I know the area that Crawlapalooza is in, and I know how vast the playground is, basically. So seeing pictures from Super Shafty and knowing what Crawlapalooza is, I don't think I could ever go to Super Shafty. It's just, I just don't think that it's even remotely possible to be comparable. Josh, quit fucking texting me like something is important. God dang it. At any rate, Crawlapalooza is just, if you're not on course, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres to play. Leave your comp truck in line. People will move the truck in line. Grab something else, like a Fordyce. Grab a Fordyce and go play with that on the rocks somewhere else while your truck is sitting in line. And you'll find the most fun little spots anywhere around Crawlapalooza. I don't know that it's comparable to anything else. I don't think it's Kyle, it's Bruce. That's the same owner, if I remember correctly. He may be minority. I don't know of any Bruce at Badlands. I know Kyle. So if there is a Bruce involved at Badlands, I don't know him. I've met and talked to Kyle a bazillion times. I've raced multiple races down there. Got a buddy that works there. So if there is a Bruce, never met the guy. Not that it matters at all whatsoever, but usually every off-road park charges a gate fee regardless of what's going on. It was nice of them to remove their yearly charge there for that. Zach, how far are you from like Cookeville, Sparta area, Tennessee? I've gone 1-to-1 wheeling down in Sparta at Golden Mountain Off-Road Park a couple of times, and I've seen recently that Golden Mountain has a new owner and they're opening it back up. They closed it a handful of years ago, and it's been closed for quite a while. And I've been seeing Facebook posts that somebody bought it and they're going to be opening it back up in like April or May. And so I will be coming back down there to wheel at Golden Mountain. It's opening back up. Good. Yeah. Crawler J. I live in Sparta and work in Cookeville. It's a beautiful area. I love that area. If I've told my wife a dozen times, and I've told you guys on the screen here on lives that Kentucky and Tennessee just call my name, man. Mountain views, quiet. You still have all 4 seasons. It still gets cold. It doesn't snow really. Like, it snows a couple of times, but like not like it does here. You still get all four seasons. You still get brown. You still get green. You still get rocks. You still get hills. Some banjos every now and then. Nothing like some good old corn liquor from random dudes at the gas station. Like, it just calls my name. I don't know why, but it does. I just feel the need to move south. We'll have to get together when you do. Yes, absolutely. Not the bitter cold wind. That's exactly, dude, it was this morning here. The temperature this morning here was like 29 or 30 degrees when I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. But the wind chill had the feels like temperature down at like 4. Why? Why is the wind so damn cold? Terrible. Same here. I'm going to go to Tennessee eventually. So, like, if you were to draw a line, if I were to decide where to move, like north to south wise, like probably a little south of Lexington, Kentucky, like just a little bit south of Lexington because I don't like city. But like from Lexington to like Chattanooga, like just north of Chattanooga, somewhere along that stretch of interstate would be cool. Or like if I made it to Tennessee, like Cookeville would probably be as far west as I wanted to go. I wouldn't want to go to Nashville. Like, I have a buddy that, my best friend, moved to about 20 minutes south of Nashville. And like south of Nashville, okay, that's fine. But like, again, big city, I don't like big city. I don't want to be by Louisville. I don't want to be by Evansville. I don't want to be by Lexington. I don't want to be by Nashville. I just get southeast of Nashville. Matt's he's just southwest. He's south of Nashville and like he's in Chapel Hill. Anyway, I don't think that I could make it as far as like North Georgia. Like Atlanta is too far. I couldn't go that far. I could probably go as far east as like Hatfield McCoy trails, West Virginia area. But that might be a little banjo-y for me. A little bit too far away from everything. But land is cheap. The nice thing, like the land down there is reasonable. And for somebody like me, I'm self-employed, right? So a lot of people, when they look at property down there, they go, there's nowhere to work. There's no jobs down there. Well, I really don't need a job, right? I need a UPS truck that delivers and picks up stuff. I need a mail truck that delivers and picks up stuff. And I need enough power to run my machines. Otherwise, I need a building to house the stuff And that's about it. Like I need a grocery store, I need a gas station. Other than that, I don't have to have big city living, you know. Um, so when you talk about, $400,000, you get a double wide, and that's. I was just watching a YouTube video earlier today of a guy that bought 320 acres in West Texas for like $275 an acre. He paid $80,000 for 320 acres. Now, there's absolutely nothing around it. No houses on it, no buildings on it, nothing. It's just barren land, not what I would want. But, like, to buy land like that, that's kind of what I want, right? Anyway, country roads take me home, yeah. I'm in Woodbury, right outside Murfreesboro, small town, 3 stoplights, 30, 40 minutes to Nashville. I could probably go 30 to 60 minutes from Nashville, but I would want to go east. That 3-phase power is hard to come by in Woodbury. I mean, I could run phase converters. They're not efficient, and that's not the way I want to power my machines, but it's one of those things where, like, if that's all you got, that's all you got. You set up a farm stand out front with 400 amps to it and run phase converters and run your machines. It's not that big of a deal, but it's extra shit. It's extra things to go wrong. It's extra headaches. So, off to film the scale news. Later, gents. Later, Harley. I will watch first thing in the morning. Saylorsville, Kentucky. Nothing there at all. I'm totally fine with that. Like I said, I also work for UPS, so you could pick up and deliver my stuff. Like, ultimately, like Cookeville and Sparta, I was there for a week and a half to go off-roading. Cookeville area was nice. We went, there's plenty of restaurants. Like the city of Cookeville, the town of Cookeville, has everything you would want or need in that town. So, whatever. Close to 23 RC as well. So, I'm still looking at. I've talked about this property on here before, but I'm still looking at a piece of property in Kentucky that it hasn't sold yet. But the seller isn't. The seller did not like my offer on the property. I made an offer on a piece of property down there, and he counter-offered about $80,000 more than my offer. But the piece of property has been on the market for almost a year, and he's lowered the price like 3 times now. So I'm kind of just waiting it out. It's about 40 minutes. It's about a 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive from 23 RC. But I'm hoping that if I just wait him out long enough, I'll get a phone call back about it, or I'll just keep checking on it. And when it gets closer to the dollar amount I offered, I'll call the realtor back up and have them, make another offer on it, or, whatever. But it's a nice piece of property. It's probably half an hour south of Lexington, but there's a couple of really nice pieces of property right along that stretch of highway going south through Kentucky. So it would be cool to land somewhere that's close to other RC people, or an area where it's close enough to go comp with people, because here the only comps. Indoor Crawler Canyon in Illinois. It's, just over 2 hours. Or I can go to Grand Rapids, but they're mostly 24 scale stuff. And again, that's about 2 hours north also. Other than that, that's pretty much my only options around here. So if I could get to somewhere that's 20 minutes, half hour from other crawlers, or at least somewhere close that has actual terrain to play on, that'd be cool. Like, I don't I don't require much. The only real concern then is, how, school system stuff for the kid. I've got a 7-year-old, so like, got to have some sort of reasonable schooling for the kid, right? Some sort of, at least something that makes sense. I don't really want to homeschool him, but if I had to, I can. How did you get into comping with the lack of local comps? There used to be local comps. The unfortunate part, again, about my area is just there's just not challenging terrain that have rocks, right? So the comp series was kind of a traveling comp series. It was within, I think the farthest one was probably an hour and 45 minutes or so from here. The closest one was 5 minutes from here. But it was mostly dirt or man-made obstacles. And the man-made obstacles were usually like cinder blocks and bricks or log bridges or strap bridges over wire spools and things like that. And not to say that it wasn't fun, because those things are all challenging and they all have their own pros and cons, but in the dirt, there can be clear advantages to going first or going last or going in the middle of the pack, because the terrain changes for every single truck that goes through it. If you get somebody that runs their gigantic front bumper up against a rock or a log and digs holes in the dirt in front of that obstacle, the next guy comes pulling in there and his bumper doesn't touch it, but he gets stuck in those holes. It's not really fair to the guy that didn't have those holes there, that went right through. And life's not fair. It is what it is, but you kind of have to have as level of a playing field as you can for everybody, because people do complain about the silliest little things. So you end up with a bunch of people complaining about things, and there's only so much that an event coordinator or event organizer is willing to put up with over, I think he ran that series for 5 or 6 years, probably. There's only so much you're willing to put up with over that time frame before you go, I'm out. I've had enough complaining. I don't want to do it anymore. So that's how I got into it. There was a local comp series, and Wesley used to live here, so that's how I met Wesley. Was we were at a local event and got to talking and hanging out, and it just kind of went from there. But thoughts on megalithic tire ban? I saw it coming from the minute that tire was released. I've been in the comp scene for 10 years now. And as far as I'm aware, that tire ban list hasn't been updated, basically. They might have added a tire or two. So it was time for the tire ban list to be updated. When you have a tire like the Rover on the tire ban list and a tire like the Megalithic comes out, it was pretty easy to see why they would ban that tire. I see a lot of people saying that the Trencher and the Hyrax should be banned. Hyrax, I could see people wanting to ban the Hyrax. It doesn't really resemble a 1-to-1 tire. I could see it if you wanted to stretch it that far. But the Trencher, the Trencher, to me, a lot of people are comparing the Trencher to a pin tire. I personally think the Trencher is much more like an all-terrain or a sand-looking tire than a pin tire. I mean, it's not an open lug tire. It's not a pin type tire. And this isn't even considered a pin tire. But if you're going to compare, if you're going to say something's a pin tire and you don't say this is a pin tire, but you do say this is a pin tire, we're on different pages. At any rate, I saw the megalithic tire ban coming from minute one. I am surprised that the tire ban list didn't get bigger than it did. I'm surprised they didn't ban the Tusk. I'm surprised they didn't ban the Trencher or Hyrax. I'm surprised they didn't ban, what's that other J Concepts tire that kind of looks like a big old bogger, the Hold or the, I don't even know what it is. Surprised they didn't ban that one. I'm actually surprised that they didn't say officially licensed tires only. To me, that would make more sense, is to ban everything that is not officially licensed, and everybody would end up running a Falcon or a Crawler or a Trepador, or the CJ7 has the Baja Boss. Those are all great tires. If you want to keep things scale, make it scale. Tell everybody they have to have licensed tires. I like real Treps. I don't think the Voodoo KLR looks like it. I don't think the KLR looks like a Trep either, and it's a fucking terrible tire. It's a terrible tire, and the owner of the company is a terrible person. My opinion. I've said it on live camera. He can yell at me if he wants to. I am surprised that the VXT2 was not on that list. Not that I want it on that list. I really like this tire. But I can't get it to measure what it says it measures. And I'll leave it at that. I cannot come up with a foam and wheel combination that makes that 4.75 tire a 4.75. We're not getting that 51 cents tonight. That's fine. We don't need it because Tom donated $5. We're getting demonetized tonight. That's all I'm saying. You leave me here alone and we demonetize the stream. That's just what it is. Oh. We are just over an hour into the stream here tonight. I only planned on being here for an hour, but if you guys keep it going, we might keep going a little bit longer. I may go another 20, 25 minutes if we keep the discussions rolling here. The comment section of the megalithic tire ban got so far out of hand that I didn't even bother trying to keep up with the 250 or 300, whatever it is, comments. People get so heated about this stuff. Like, there were more people complaining about it than I've ever seen at comps. Like, there were more people in that comment section bitching about a tire getting banned than are at nationals total. Okay? So, like, it was a shit show in the comments. You don't have to follow Sorka rules. Nobody says you have to follow these rules, right? If you compete locally and Sorka bans a tire, your local comp, whoever organizes your local comps, you get together as a group and you just go, hey guys, are we banning this tire or are we not banning this tire? And not only that, but like you would have thought that Sorka banning this tire meant that no one can run this tire on any truck ever again. You would think that it was a nationwide Trump banned this tire, you can't have it type of thing. The way people were complaining about it, like, just because I can't run that tire at Nationals doesn't mean I can't buy that tire. Like, you want to run it, buy it and run it. Nobody's stopping you. Go play. Go have fun with your truck. Terrible. 23RC has a great turnout every week without following Sorka rules. Fact. Sorka Light did not ban the megalithic. And there could potentially be other rule sets that are in the works, other places that, you know, maybe this time next year, no one even cares about Sorka anymore. Maybe this time next year, Sorka doesn't even exist anymore. Maybe we're following some other set of rules. Maybe we're following 2 sets of rules. Maybe we just say screw it and do our own thing locally and call it a day. I don't know. Thoughts on Proline's Dakota body? I want one. That's my thoughts on it. I want one bad. I haven't ordered one, but I want one. It looks good, and I've owned probably no less than 5 Dodge Dakotas in my 26 years, 27 years of buying vehicles. I've owned a lot of Dodge Dakotas, and it makes me just want one. I just want the body. I don't know. I just want it. That'd have been rad ass too if they'd have banned the Tusk, though. We talked about this, Zach, a little bit. I personally am not a fan of the Tusk. I can't get it to perform the way I want it to perform. I can't get it to perform the way my trenchers perform on the terrain that I typically travel to, right? Places like Disney, Oklahoma, that have the sharpest rock you've ever fallen and busted your ass on. It's like stacked up razor blades. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's stacked up razor blades. Any tire works well there because you don't have to worry about traction. But what you do have to worry about is wheel hop. And if you start to spin a tire at Crawlapalooza, the truck goes backwards down the hill faster than you could ever think it would ever go backwards. So the Tusk always folded the lugs over and hopped. And every time the tire hops, you lose traction. And then it just compounds and you have to basically stop and then get back in the throttle to get the tire to stop hopping. And it drove me nuts. My trenchers never did that. My VXT2s did not do that. My Falcon Wild Peaks did not do that. But the Tusk, every single foam setup I tried in it, it always bounced. And I hated it. So if they'd have banned the Tusk, I'd have been like, yeah, it doesn't look like a real tire. Next. Megalithic. Doesn't look like a real tire. Next. I don't know. Let's all put Falcon Wild Peak Vanquish VXT or Vanquish Red Compound Falcons on our trucks and drive that. I've run Ruptures, Hyrax, and BFGs. I don't see a big enough difference in performance to say one is better than the other at all times. There's absolutely no best tire, period. End of story. You see all the comments, what's the best tire for this, what's the best tire for that? There isn't a best tire for anything. It's how the truck is set up, the terrain you're on, how you want the truck to perform, and how well you know what the truck is going to do at all times. I build very similar trucks for everything that I do. They all run the same motor. They all run the same ESC. They all run the same servo. They all run the same brand of shocks with the same oil, the same pistons, and the same springs, right? The only difference is if I run a Lexan body, I may have to run a softer spring versus a hard body truck. So I know exactly how the trucks are going to react. The only difference is the wheelbase and the body on top of it. But I can swap parts if I need to. If I break something on one truck, I can grab parts off another truck and put them on this truck. Or like I had to at Nationals 2 years ago. I ended up having to drive my Class 1 truck with the Class 2 body on it in Class 2 because I plugged my Class 2 in at the first course and the electronics were freaking out. So I ran back to the pits, grabbed my Class 1 truck, threw my Class 2 body on it, and I wheeled that all day long. So it's easier for me to do it that way. But they both had, both of the trucks had trenchers on it. Both of the trucks had DriveTech shocks on them. Both of the trucks had a Holmes Puller 400. Both had a BR Mini. Both had Holmes servos. So, you really could mistake the two. If I took the wheels and tires off them, they were both C1 Pros. They both had they both had Vanquish axles. One had portals, one had straights, but whatever. They were basically identical trucks for Class 1 and Class 2 other than tire size and the body. They had the same bumpers, everything. And the same brand and style of tire other than the size. Same brand of foams, same density of foams. I found a combination that really works for me, and that's what I run. So if you go switching tires around, you may notice a difference. You may not notice a difference. If you change tires and change shock springs, what made it better or worse? Did the shock springs make it better or worse, or did the tires make it better or worse? Did the foams that you put in those tires just not work with that diameter of tire? Because it doesn't matter if it says 4.75 on the tire. If it measures 5.1, or it says 4.75 and it measures 3.9 or 4.3, it just, I don't know. There's no best answer. Best tire is the one that works for your driving and the terrain you're on. I think the Tusk favors the sticky more than the Proline version does. I don't know. I've got some pretty sticky Proline tires. And these Vanquish VXT2s are very, very sticky when they're clean. These tires specifically are very dusty right now because I was driving them in sand, but anyway, I think I'll stay on about 10 more minutes with you guys here. Do you have any questions about inventory or anything like that? I know I touched at the very beginning on inventory updates. I think just about everything is in stock right now in some form or another. Dang it. I don't want to get up. Is Theron still in here? I don't want to get up if Theron's still in here. Anyway, I'm going to get up. Give me 1 second. Dang it, he is still in here. Okay, so Wesley did update the dual servo mount. We got rid of the bar between the two servo locations. There are certain servos that use that's 2 times I got out of my chair. There are certain servos that use a bigger case, and there were people that were having to shave these down a little bit. So we just removed that bar out of the middle for bigger case servos. However, when we did that, the first batch of these that came back were not to spec. Unfortunately, the holes in the sides were out of tolerance. They were just a little bit too big, and they wouldn't hold threads very well. Now, inside these servo mounts, you can see there's a spot for an M3 nut where the panhard mount goes, or on the other side too. You put M3 nuts inside there and they bolt down and they clamp down. They cannot come loose. But where the bumpers go, the holes were out of spec. So okay, that's a technicality. Lifted my butt to get my Class 1 truck that was on the table. Anyway, there are V2 dual servo mounts on the site that are perfectly toleranced. They're fantastic. We remade the batch. Everything's fine. If you look in the garage sale section, we've gone through and I have put brass inserts in all the critical holes of these ones that were out of spec. So these are 100% usable, and everything is perfect on them, but they have brass inserts installed. So if we do run out of the regular dual servo mounts, which there's at least a dozen or better in inventory right now, we have, I think, 20 of these on the site that have brass inserts installed there in the garage sale section. So if you're looking for something like that, they are at a little bit of a discount. Wish I could have discounted them a little bit more, but unfortunately, it was our error on the dimensions. So we're losing money on these, and then I had to go through all the labor of installing brass inserts and the purchase of the inserts and whatever. So they are a little bit of a discount versus a non-inserted one, but yeah, we're losing money on these. Is what it is. The brass inserts they're not super expensive, but they're not the cheapest thing in the world. It's more the labor. You gotta, to do these properly, you have to drill a hole, a properly sized hole to a specific depth, and then heat the insert and put it in. So it does take some time. It's more labor than it is money for the brass inserts, but kind of is what it is. As far as price goes on the blemished ones, they are $25 on the website, and non-blemished ones are $30. More forward weight, selling for more. Yeah, they've got brass in them, so it's more forward weight bias. I will say though, previously, some of the hex pockets were pretty tight. Trying to get a nut, M3 nut down in there. These ones, the tolerance on those holes for the M3 nuts is like right on. Like you can see, banging that against my hand, I was able to get that nut to kind of fall out of there, and they just kind of pop right back in. Pretty nice. Real nice. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure, other than wheels, before somebody asks, just about everything else is in inventory right now. Anything in our current catalog should be. There's not a whole lot of pro skids. I think there's really only one pro skid left, but I have a bunch of Delrin on its way to make more, so they won't be out of stock long. Is the linked mullet chassis the same length as the full party? Yes, they're exactly the same length, I believe. Unless Wes, does the rear leaf spring holes extend beyond the rear of the frame on the leaf spring mullet on the full party? I don't remember. That's a Wesley product. I don't do full party mullets here in my shop. There you go. 1/8 inch longer on each end. That's because of the holes for the shackles. Yep. That's what I thought. So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to get out of here for the evening. Thank you all for joining me. Whether you joined on Facebook and came back over to YouTube, or whether you were here the whole time. hopefully next week Wesley's feeling better. I'm sure he will be, and maybe we can get a full 2-hour stream in next time. I'm sure he'll have his voice back by then. If you have any questions about anything, go ahead and ask in the fan page or send messages to the Brazen Facebook page, or send an email, whatever you want to do. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here, and we will see you guys next Monday. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Later.